we are at the Diecast Convention 2010. One of your great customizers, I think it was Customizer of the Year, it's Night Stalker. He's here. Diecast pistons, eating chicken at the buffet. Come on. We're in Vegas, 2010. Okay, there's my little email.
Dennis.
Would you like to have
Oh my
question?
goodness. Serious question. Is that?
Hey, here comes Dad.
That looks like your dad over there.
Why, that guy?
Why does he look a lot like your dad?
He's been taking these pills, dude. And,
Must be.
Yeah. We don't want to talk about that part. He's got to... Anyway. He's a Big Daddy fan from way back machine, and he built this car, had a bubble top put on it. He said the first car he ever saw was the Beatnik Bandit. He was all enthralled by it. So he wanted to...
This here was the inspiration.
There you go.
Definitely. It's not a recreation, but a tribute car to what your dad did, with what you're continuing to this day. Building, I think they were the best cars ever built.
Oh,
I mean, obviously everybody else did, because how many Hot Wheels have been done? How many, every car he built is a Hot Wheel, a diecast.
My truck broke down on the way here in my trailer, and I called Gary. I go, I need an alternator. He goes, hey, well, if you need a car to fill the spot, I'll bring this over. And I told CJ, my car's not going to be here. I got this guy, little leery city engineer, And he goes, well, does the car show quality? I go, dude, wait till you see it. And when he saw it coming in, I mean, people were cheering up on top of the parking structure.
Where else are you going to find a bubble top car with, fins and flames and,
Much less one that's driven on the street, regular.
And that's even better. This is not a trailer queen. This car gets driven. Okay.
Hey, well, that means you can get a ride tomorrow, Zarnock, when they ride out of here.
Yeah,
Zarnock the Magnificent under the bubble.
This guy hasn't left me. He hasn't left me alone. He steals my stuff and draws all over it. But we're at the diecastspace.com super convention, and where else are you going to meet people like this? This is the son of Ed Big Daddy Roth. Even looks like him. I met him a year ago. The guy is phenomenal. One of the most approachable people in the whole world.
Don't approach me like that, Zarnock.
You know what I mean? This guy's phenomenal. So, Dennis, you're carrying on where your father left off.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, when I was a kid, Dad always told us, do you want a car? And I go, yeah. And he goes, build it. Well, so that was the way I was only going to get a car, is by build it myself. Right. Or if I was mixing plaster for Dad and I said, hey, maybe you should make a vent right there or something. He goes, when you build your car, you can do it your way. Until then, go mix the resin up. And I said, okay. But I still do it the way Dad did it, is I, build the chassis first, then I mock up the body with chicken wire and sticks and start putting plaster and vermiculite. Yeah. And so it's really a buck, and then you put the fiberglass over it, and then you get under there with a hammer and get all the junk out of the back, yank the body off and start grinding and doing all the work. But that way you can see what the body's going to look like in full size, sit in the car, do everything before it's even fiberglass. And sometimes that's a little better than just designing it on paper. It's more like in your head.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the car comes out of the end of your trowel. My dad was a self-proclaimed great sketch artist, but I think my dad's real art, besides pinstriping, came out at the end of his trowel when he was sculpting cars. So now I don't know why I keep doing it, man.
Your dad was not only a designer,
right,
but a builder. Like a lot of guys today are designers, and then someone else builds the car. Your dad and you and your brothers would actually build the cars yourselves.
Yeah, there was no other way to use fiberglass back then except for like boats out of a mold. Something comes out of a mold. It's a real nice part. But when you're building a one-off car, it took like a year to build the body. It was either Dick Cook or Jim Jacobs or Dan Woods did the chassis for the Druid Princess. But at night at 5 o'clock when all the employees went home, like Robert Williams and all those guys, they went home. It was like time for me and my brothers to go in the back shop with my dad and start mixing plaster for the buck. And after a while, we went from straight plaster to putting vermiculite in it so we could cheese grade file away stuff. Or Dad would go riding and he'd say, okay, so he'd build usually half the car. And then he'd tell me and my brother to start stacking plaster on the other car and make that look like this side. Of course, he had to come and refine it, but, you could tell by the whole side of one car.
How old are you guys?
Me?
No. When you were doing this? How old were you and your brothers?
We all had to start working at the shop when we were in first grade, so we were all 6 years old.
6 years old.
Yeah. By the time we were 13, we I was working 70 hours a week at the shop, and Robert Williams worked for my mom and dad for 5 years, and 40 hours a week, he was making $68 a week. I have a check signed to Robert Williams for $68 a week. And me and my brothers work 70 hours, and I go, hey, Dad, could I have a quarter? No. I was there more than the regular employees, you know what I mean? Hey, Dad. Did I say that in front of him again? I'm going to get in trouble.
So a lot of the cars that were out there, you and your brothers had your hands into.
Yeah, because during the day what we did is we came home from school and we'd make T-shirts and send them out. So that was the crux of the business. Mom and Dad had a T-shirt mail order business, and Revell, royalties from Revell. Well, they were under contract with Revell to supply a car a year. So Robert Williams, Ed Newton, those guys that did the artwork and designed shirts, worked 40 hours a week. They'd split, Friday night, there's no one around. I'd have to make Mickey Thompson's T-shirts because we were going to the drags the next day, and then fold them. And then on Saturday morning, we go over to Mickey Thompson and trade Mickey his shirts for 50 gallons of fuel for the Yellow Fang.
Wow.
My dad was into trading, so I knew all these. I made everyone's shirts, man.
And you grew up knowing and hanging out with people like Mickey Thompson and Ed Newton and
people I didn't even know were famous. I thought Steve McQueen was just a guy that hung out with Dad and Von Dutch.
Von Dutch hung out at your house. Von Dutch would come to your house, and you and him and your dad would just go shooting guns in the backyard. And
well, not me. My mom would get very mad about that. She was there, but yeah.
Well, all those cool people that we all grew up idolizing and reading about in magazines. These guys were hanging out at your house.
Yeah. Well, I was knee-high to Dad, when Tom Wolfe wrote that book, The Candy-Colored Tangerine Flake Baby, or The Pump House Gang Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test. So, guys like Tom Wolfe would be hanging out at the shop, and it was like, he'd always wear this white suit. When he got there, Dad told him, take that jacket off and put a Coors Breakfast of Champion shirt on, and then get in the 55 Chevy, you were hauling bananas. It was like, he treated everyone the same. But, like when the Beach Boys were there, I didn't know they were. I was a little kid,
It was just a band at your house,
and, Von Dutch's, we were going over there. I was going swimming, baby. I didn't care what him and Dad and Steve were doing in the back. It was
just weird. A great time to be a kid.
But when you look back and you go, working at Lions Drag Strip every weekend selling decals, I saw the whole evolution of funny cars, and I guess I just can't get it out of me, you know what I mean?
And that's good. You should.
I got to keep doing what I'm doing, trained to do.
It's great that you're carrying on what your dad...
Big Daddy University.
Right. School of Roth.
Chromius, Bubulus, Candius. You know what I mean?
Just like his father. Dennis, thank you very much. I appreciate it. We all do.
Okay.
And thanks
for... come by and tell my fortune later then?
I would love to.
Oh,
let me read your palm.
Room 32832.
Okay.
Okay, I gotta go.
Thanks a lot.
Oh, there's Dad.
We'll see you later. Dennis, talk to me.